Coastal Carolina forces and then takes advantage of those Southern Miss fifth-inning mistakes and are your 2025 Sun Belt champions. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, we will get to Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss both hosting. We could do David Bowie and Queen. We could do Billy Joel, Under Pressure. All right. And will Troy get in? All right. We will discuss that as well. But Coastal Carolina, your 2025 Sun Belt champions. 7-5 the ball game. Southern Miss doesn't go away. I'm impressed with a couple of freshmen starting that. You had a couple of freshmen starting the ball game. You had, let's see here, Camden Sundstrom on a Baton Rouge starting it for Southern Miss. And Luke Jones actually had, what did I see, like 45 innings of baseball this year. So he's pitched pretty well this season. And I saw Luke Jones get out of what appeared to be, my memory, a bases loaded jam, I think in the second inning where he had already given up a run and they tied the ball game up. Southern Miss actually, I think, had a shot at blowing the game open a little bit in the fourth inning. They already scored a couple of runs. They could have blown the game open, leaving the bases loaded. Let me see if I get that right. It was in the fourth inning. They took a 3-2 lead. Did they leave the bases loaded? No, they had runners on at second and third. Brand advanced to third. Sockman scored. Russo. Oh, no, bases were loaded. Yeah, bases were loaded. So they did leave, like Troy the other day against Southern Miss, leaving 12 men on base. Southern Miss left 13 men on base. So that's going to stick in their craw for a little bit. But as anyone will tell you, when you're as good as team as Southern Miss, they don't need any help. They caught a break when the big bouncer went over the head of Monster at second. If you watched it, and I did, Caden Bodine really wasn't running the whole way. I wouldn't say he was jogging out of the box, but he really didn't step it up until right before he rounded. In fact, until the ball bounced over his head. Then he took off for second base. All right. Which is a nice hustle play by him. But it's not like he was busting it out of the box either. But what that play does is, instead of the next batter bunting him over to second base, when you lay down the bunt and now you throw it away, then you come around to score. And then you're throwing another bunt and he's safe. And then Monastero's throwing it to first instead of throwing it to second. And just because of one mistake and one bad break, kept on leading and kept on building onto itself. They did get a 2-run base hit to left. They did catch a break. I saw on, the safe call with Coastal's hand off the bag. But the runner at home should have been safe when the umpire couldn't see that the ball had fallen out of the catcher's glove. There was no review of the play. But the ball fell out of his glove before he grabbed it. I noticed that the Southern Miss fans didn't put that on there. So they may have caught a break in there. It doesn't really matter. They had, you open the door a little bit for Coastal Carolina, they're going to kick it open. And they did. When a team like Coastal Carolina gives you an out, you got to get it. And they gave them a couple of outs and they couldn't get it with those bunts. And so Coastal Carolina is good. Southern Miss is good. And I don't think anyone will tell you that Southern Miss played their best ball game. Now, is that because of Coastal Carolina? Right. So when I say that, Troy's bats have gone quiet for what I think is the better part of 3 or 4 weeks, but especially against Southern Miss fans are going to tell me, well, that was because of Southern Miss pitching. Well, did Southern Miss not play that well today? Was that because of Coastal Carolina, or did Southern Miss just not play well because they didn't play well? Right? I mean, Montserrat can't do anything about the ball bouncing over his head. Right? I mean, he's on the outfield grass, and you can't do anything about it. I don't even know if he would have thrown him out. He was so far back at second base. And then catch another bad break, a high chopper off of dirt at home plate. Bad decision throwing to first instead of flipping it to second, like Ronnie Rance said. And again, Coastal is gonna take advantage of those situations, right? They have the 18-game winning streak, and Southern Miss's winning streak is done. But still got him a hosting place. So Kevin Schnall done a great job. We did put out, this is unlikely, but we did put out the Sunbelt, the lockdown signal, if you will. We'll see if we get the two coaches to come on this week. I don't have off until later on in the week. Then we're going away. We will not miss the regionals. I promise you that. I don't know if it'll be episodes or just quick videos, but we will not miss the regionals. But we're going to see if we can get the coaches on, for Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday. Not really concerned about the championship game so much as I wanted to review the season and preview the regional, which is coming out Monday. It's coming out later today, noon Eastern time. I had to check because I've been in Central Time so often and just needed to check. And one team's in Eastern Time, Coastal Carolina, and Southern Miss is in Central Time, so it doesn't matter. Either way, I'm actually going to be at lunch when it comes out, is the way my schedule works out. So that'll be good. We could actually probably do a quick video. Someone be walking around the Jim Beam campus and everyone, who's he talking to? So we'll see if we get that done. Although they do take forever with that. I mean, that thing takes longer than the NCAA tournament brackets. That thing takes forever if it's not the first couple. The thing is, Southern Miss, if they're 15th or 16th, they're going to get announced fast because they usually line up the regionals like that. So we'll get that in a minute. Anyways, Coastal Carolina, your 2025 Sun Belt champions. They were not picked. What did we say? They were picked 4th or 5th preseason. And I know they didn't play each other. And I know Coastal Carolina, lost to Troy, oddly enough. And like I said earlier last week, or late last week, I guess, it would have been nice for these two teams to play a best out of 3. And with their top pitchers, right? We wanted to see, as great as it is to see a couple of freshmen, and a couple of freshmen pitch pretty well, by the way. It would have been nice to see J.B. Middleton and Jacob Morrison go at it. I guess we could still see that. It would have to I'm going to guess it's going to have to probably be in Omaha. These two are not going to be lined up to play in a super. I would presume that not to be the case. So Coastal Carolina are your 2025 Sun Belt champions, deservedly so. Unfortunately, Southern Miss made one too many mistakes. And then, again, they had plenty of opportunities, leaving 13 men on base. And in a 2-run ball game, they're going to, hopefully, be able to rinse that away and get ready for the regionals, which they are hosting. And now, as I mentioned, the pressure is going to be on. Coastal and Southern Miss need to win these. We'll talk about that when we get back, right after I tell you about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery, and now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress of day-to-day money finance situations. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Okay. All right, so it was announced, and I don't think they announced this evening. They announced it at 8:30 Sunday night. Let me just make sure. The regional hosts of without the seeding, right? The NCAA came out and announced the regional hosts in alphabetical order. That's what they did. Okay. Yes, that's what they did. All right, so the seeding is not there. Okay, which is fine. And both Coastal and Southern Miss are there. And again, to me, we said this before, whether Coastal, we kind of knew Coastal was hosting for a minute, right? This is no surprise. We think D1 thinks they're going to be a national seed. For Southern Miss, they're going to end up with an SEC or ACC team. Both of them probably will because they're all making it. Now there's no excuses, right? You're the host team. You need to get to the supers. I said this before they were hosting, that these teams, and maybe it was even in connection with the Cajuns, that maybe it was the Cajuns, but the way these teams play this year, getting to the NCAA tournament isn't good enough. All right. Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss are, I believe, as the NCAA does, one of the two, as the case may be, top 16 teams in the country. And if you get to the super regionals, that's a pretty good season. All right. Now, if you're Coastal Carolina and you're hosting, it'd be nice to win that, right? It's going to be a little bit disappointing if you host and you don't win that. All right. And so if we want to compare this to the NCAA tournament outside of, basketball wise, outside of a couple of teams. So this year would have been, I guess, Houston. Duke probably would have been up there, right? It would kind of be a little bit disappointing season for Duke, right? So there's a handful of teams that you get to the Final Four. In fact, when you get to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, you've had a good year, all right? When you're one of the final 16 teams standing, you've had a really good team. You've had a really good season. Now, there's going to be a handful of teams that expect to get to the Final Four. But by the time you get to the Elite Eight, you're really playing somebody good. All right. And so by the time you get to the supers, obviously you're playing somebody really good or really hot. Usually both. But I just believe in this case, Coastal and Southern Miss need to win. They need to advance to the supers, or it's a disappointing season. And it's not going to matter how that happens, right? Bad call, missed opportunity. Doesn't matter, right? How it happens. And if Coastal's hosting, goodness. Now, I guess there's a way that Southern Miss can. Someone else has to lose, the team they're hooked up with has to lose, that regional host has to lose so they can host. It's a whole thing. But that's later on. That's for the supers, to host the supers. But if I'm Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, they're hosting. I'm going to tell you, if they don't win the regional, it's a disappointing season. They've put themselves in line for not only hosting a regional and or super regional, but a trip to Omaha, right? It comes out tomorrow that Clemson is 8th, right? I mean, they're going to be connected with the 9th seed, right? Isn't that how that works? So that's a flip of a coin who that would be, right? No one's better than the other. Not at least not that much better. It's not on paper, anyways. But nonetheless, it's going to be at home. And you're going to have your 11-0 pitcher, in theory, taking the mound in game 1. So, yeah, I mean, you need to win that. You need to win. All right. Same thing with Southern Miss. All right. JB Middleton may be on extra rest now, right? Because JB Middleton, he's been moved up a couple of times. Yeah, he pitched on Thursday and on Wednesday. Now he's going to be back on. Usually I don't know if they start these regionals on Friday. It's usually or on Thursday. Usually there's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there's usually a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I don't know if there's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday regionals. I guess we can look. Let's see here. NCAA baseball regionals dates. It's not going to tell me. What are the dates of the NCAA baseball regionals? From Friday, there you go, Friday, May 30th to Monday, June 2nd. So everything starts on Friday. And then, obviously, rain always plays a part. You got to finish it by usually no later than Monday, but no later than Tuesday. They got to get it in. So they will wait. Like, they will play late night. There's no curfew when it comes to these things, for the most part. They will play in front of an empty stadium late night. Right? There's no school. These things are done. They will wait until the end all be all to get it done. So that's what I say. Not to put added pressure no pressure is coming from me. They will have plenty of pressure that they put on themselves. But I mean, it's a well-deserved honor and well-deserved accomplishment that Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss are hosting. Now you got to go out and win it, because you're going to get those. I mean, they very well each may have an ACC and SEC team in there. All right. Don't be surprised when that happens. Just so, someone could say, we told you so, right? Type of deal. But at the same time, you got to look at it as an opportunity and say, yeah, you tried to tell us so. We told you so. No, that's the way I look at it. That Coastal and Southern Miss, at the very least, should win the regionals, although everybody believes that. I do believe that Coastal and Southern Miss are among the top 16 teams in the country. And then we'll see what happens when it gets to the Supers. All right. Now, having said all that, does Troy get in? I mean, they are on the bubble. Let's talk about that right after I thank you. All right. We're going to have second or third best month of all time again in May. You guys are the best. Really appreciate it. All those YouTube views on shorts. Just amazing. So I do appreciate it. And obviously, you guys know I'm working full time where I can't watch as much as I'd like to. I did get back and watch the ball game through the 5th. The rest of it doesn't really matter. But I do appreciate that. Going away to Charleston, celebrating Mama Schultz's 85th birthday, but I will be able to watch the regionals, certainly either on the phone, and then we'll have the episode for Friday, and we'll see if we have a full episode for Saturday and Sunday. Certainly have an episode for Monday, and then I'll be back for Tuesday. So we'll definitely not missing the regionals, that's for sure. Anyways, want to thank you guys. We're getting so close to 2,000 subscribers, but we're going to have another fantastic month. We're just having a lot of fun doing it, and we'll see if Troy gets in. We'll talk about that next. And, do we have – I wouldn't be surprised to me if we get not one but two teams in Omaha. We'll talk about Troy right after this. We'll wrap things up. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, Coastal Carolina, your 2025 Sunbelt champions. Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss are hosting. Will Troy get in? Okay. One of the teams not hosting, you know what? I didn't look, but we need to look just in case. I'm pretty sure they did not. Okay. Northeastern is not hosting. You say, well, why would they be hosting? Well, Northeastern is 23rd. Southern Miss is 19 in the RPI. Okay. Northeastern, hottest team in the country, 27 straight victories. And I only bring them up. Now, I happen to be friends with the head coach, name drop. God, I've known him for like 24 years. I'm old. Yeah, I've known him for a long time. But they did Troy a solid. All right. All those stolen bids that Kendall Rogers is putting out there, when all of those regular season or teams that we're going to get at large berths anyways don't win their conference championship, like Northeastern is getting an at-large berth. All right. UNC Wilmington was not. They got an RPI 76. They're not getting one. They're a good baseball team, just not getting an at-large berth. Northeastern is. All right. If Wilmington beats Northeastern, Northeastern's going to get in, and UNC Wilmington is getting in. Northeastern wins, so Wilmington's not. That does Troy a solid. See how that works out? Troy, right now, I see 47. I mean, to me, that doesn't look like they're getting in. That's going in the wrong direction. But I don't know anything. But what I said in the little quick video that I made right before started recording this is Kendall Rogers and those guys at D1 Baseball seem to have a pulse of what's going on. They had, and we don't know as of this recording, we don't know that Coastal Carolina is a national seed, all right? But on Sunday morning, they had Coastal Carolina as a national seed and Southern Miss in as a hosting seed, all right? That was before the Sun Belt Championship game. Following the Sun Belt Championship game, they still had Southern Miss hosting. In fact, he was very confident that Southern Miss was hosting, even without that wasn't even their last bid. It was like TCU. I mean, I can look. I think it was like TCU and Georgia Tech. Let's see here. Kendall Rogers. He said it. Would have been a little bit ago. Let me see if I can find it here. I mean, he's tweeting out a bunch. No. Let me see. It may have been a reply to somebody. I thought I saw it. No. He may have replied to somebody because I did see it. I thought I did see it. Well, maybe not. I did see it. I did see it because I repeated it from him. He had it. Maybe he took it down after the seeds came out. All right. He did have it where he did say Coastal was still in it. It wasn't really about Coastal being a national seed. It was about the last two seeds getting in. And he said, I'm very confident about Southern Miss getting a seed. It was the last seed. And it was about Georgia Tech, maybe UCLA. All right. And I certainly haven't paid attention to any of that. And so now the point is that Southern Miss did get the host. And the other point is that Troy was in the last D1 baseball bracketology. All right. And so my theory would be, as much as 47th is really pushing it RPI wise, and I appreciate Skylar Meade, saying they deserve it. And certainly, if you move their skid at the end of the season to January and you finish up strong, right? Say you take 2 out of 3 from Southern Miss and you still ended the same way, but you lost to Southern Miss twice in the Sun Belt Conference tournament instead of what you did, they'd be in. Their RPI would probably be higher too. All right. And he said he understands the numbers. And he's not wrong where he says, we are a tournament team. And I guess they've been banged up. But everybody else in the country around your numbers are going to say the same thing as well. So I hope they get in. It'd be a really, really tough blow the second year in a row where they've kind of faded down the stretch because they're a good baseball team. And, they've been top 25 for the better part of the last 2 months. Hadn't lost a series until the last series of the regular season. And I'm going to tell you, losing to ODU, to me, if they don't make it, losing to ODU was the deal breaker. If they beat ODU in the first game of the tournament and then lose to Southern Miss and then beat, ODU again, I guess, whoever would beat Texas State on that side of the bracket, and then lose to Southern Miss again, I think they'd be fine. But that's not what happened. They lost to ODU. So then they had to beat Texas State. That's not helping. Then they lose to Southern Miss and they're eliminated. That's the problem. So that was a problem. They played 3 games instead of 4 games. Am I right about that? Isn't that what happened? Let's see. Troy lost to ODU. Then they beat Texas State. Oh, no, they beat Old Dominion. All right. And then they lost to Southern Miss. All right. But if that second game is Southern Miss, if you flip those games, I think it sounds ridiculous, but I think they'd be better off. I hope they get in. I'm going to go by what D1 Baseball says because so far, at least with the Southern Miss hosting part, they've been right. We don't know yet about the Coastal Carolina national seed part. And again, if you're going to look at the whole season and not just the last 10-game deal with the NCAA basketball tournament used to do, you look at the whole thing and you see that Troy they won every weekend except the last one. You're given a national seed to Coastal Carolina. Troy beat Coastal Carolina in a weekend series. Maybe Troy does get in. We don't just focus on that number 47 RPI or what's happened over the last 2 weekends. We look at February through the beginning of May and take what the last 2 weeks have been with a grain of salt. We'll see. 47 is a tough pill to swallow, right? That's like, whew, that one's hurting. But if we look at the whole, maybe they do get in. Let's hope they do, because that's why the higher the Coastal is and that Southern Miss is that regional seed, regional host, now all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, now Troy has lost 4 of their losses over the last 2 weeks has been to Southern Miss. And they're one of the top 16 teams in the country, according to the NCAAs. So we will see if they get in. All right. Hopefully D1 baseball is right. All right. Again, we're going to hopefully talk with, I will put I didn't want to jinx the Skylar Meade request. If Troy gets in, I will put the request out for them as well. Oh, we did request Christian Ostrander and Kevin Schnall. Haven't heard back. They're busy. I understand. We'll see if we hear back either Monday or Tuesday. You never know. Maybe Thursday. We'll see when they travel. They may get in there on a Wednesday. They may have time on Thursday. They may be setting up. They may get 20 minutes away from their team. We'll see. In their hotel room before Friday's games. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll certainly at least tweet it out, maybe put out a video during my lunch break when the seeds come out on Monday. Otherwise, I may be touring. It's a big day tomorrow. It's Memorial Day. All right. Thanks for all those who did give the ultimate sacrifice for our country. All right. It is sincerely appreciated. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the holiday. Be safe. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.